What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Geek Mense Shoot the Shit. I am here with Mr. Clyde Beach. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. How's it going on your side?
I'm all right. I am cold. As you can see, I have on three jackets right now. Jesus.
Yo, it's actually not cold in Cape Town, but I've still got on a lot of clothes. You know?
So we just traded weather. That's what happening. Like,
Yeah,
we must take
man.
the weather back. I don't like it.
I think so. Yo, how have you been coping? It's been fairly quiet on the pop media with Loki being done and not much new stuff coming out.
Well, I mean, that's when you gotta go searching. That's when you gotta go
Yeah,
searching. I had to search my Netflix and find
yeah.
something else. Find something that we're gonna be talking about today that apparently is catching a lot of heat.
Yeah, yeah,
All
yeah.
right. So,
I'm actually keen to get into that because I've got like some strong opinions on that.
all right. So I just want to say up top, for what we're discussing today, if anybody has not watched what we're going to be talking about, you've seen the title. So there will be spoilers. There is time codes if you want to skip around. I need to start making this a tradition every
Yeah,
time we start these episodes because this is going to be full on spoiler discussions for this podcast. Okay. So everybody hear that? Spoilers. If you want to know my non spoiler thoughts, there's a link to the videos in my channel. You can go there if you want to know non-spoiler thoughts. But here we're talking spoilers.
yeah. I'm
Cool.
talking about your
All right.
videos. I'm really enjoying them. Your
Oh, thank you, thank
reviews
you,
and definitely dope. Good
thank you,
insight. Check this dude out.
thank you so much. All right, so let's jump into it. The controversy is hot. He-Man, no, not He-Man. Actually, that's one of
Masters
the
of the
biggest hits.
Universe.
Masters of the Universe. Yeah, so Masters of the Universe just dropped and it's causing a lot of problems. And I just want to say this off top. Don't harass people for fictional things. People, like, it's okay to be upset. It's okay. It's fine. But, you know, be upset and then get over it. You should
Yeah,
not be on day 3 talking about Masters of the Universe and harassing Kevin Smith.
yeah,
Like, to be honest though, like when I heard it was Kevin Smith, I got worried.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I
Well,
got worried. But I
I'll
just
tell
want to
you
say
one
that
thing.
up top.
Kevin Smith. Uh, um, I'm a big fan of. I'm gonna be honest. I'm quite a fan of Kevin Smith. I like I like that he's fairly genuine. You can tell he's got a real passion for what he does and the arts and his geek and nerddom. But people are hitting the dude left, right, and center. I think something like 2004, he was questioned about He-Man, and he said something like, "Oh, I don't really know much about He-Man, but I know of it." And now they're coming back because as a showrunner for it, he's like saying like he's a massive He-Man fan. Since 2004 till now, you could have become a bigger fan than you were back then. Like
That's
so.
happened with a lot of stuff.
So stop harassing the dude about them. When he gets into content, he knows his content. Kevin Smith is is a genuine bra. Like you can tell by the way he talks about his stuff, the passion that he puts into the content he creates. More rats, all those kind of shows. What's the other one? Clerks. This he puts deep passion and deep cut nerdom into everything that he does. So you can assure yourself if this dude was involved with He-Man, he knows he's He-Man. He's gotten into it. Like I was even thinking back, He-Man was one of the shows. Because I know I watched it as a kid. I watched She-Ra as a kid as well. But I was trying to think back and trying to think back to one episode where I could remember what actually happened in the episode. And I can't. I know I'm a fan of He-Man. I know I can name the characters. But one arc or one storyline that happened in He-Man can I remember. I think there's one special that I remember, and the only reason I remember that is because they introduced She-Ra as He-Man's twin sister. So basically,
Oh,
what's his name? Modok? What's his name? The dude with the skull face, the She-Ra villain. Apparently,
yeah.
apparently, Skeletor was one of his minions. and
Oh,
and he kidnapped She-Ra, took her to a different dimension, and to save He-Man the hurt, they brainwashed him so he'd forget his twin sister.
oh.
And so she also has the power to harness the power of Grayskull to wield the magic sword, which she
Well,
does.
that also makes it much more controversial with what they did in this Masters of the
So
Universe thing.
so let's get into that. First of all, I'm gonna start off, and I'm not just defending Kevin Smith because I like him. Um, a lot of people's first off opinions, if you read it back, it's before the show even dropped, based on the
Yeah.
trailer. People were speculating things. And to a degree, yes, the speculation was right that Tila, or Man at Arms, or Woman at Arms, or whatever title, she kind of gave up the Man at Arms mantle, I suppose, so just Tila. She she does in a way become your main character. True, but people were harping on it, were giving the show shit because it's too woke. It's not fulfilling the He-Man legacy. It doesn't have the He-Man feel. But what they did to the universe, I actually enjoyed it, to be honest. Um, it took an interesting spin. Episode one, they kind of did dedicate to a very classic style He-Man, flow to a typical episode. Um, He-Man is there. He's hiding his secret. He gets called into action. He does the whole Clark Kent thing. Secretly runs away by the power of Grayskull and goes and tries and solve the issue with brute force, which is another interesting thing I remember from the classic He-Man shows is that even though the power gives him superhuman abilities, most of the problems he solved with his mind. He-Man often didn't solve his problems with brute force as you think he would, which which I think people are having, like, yes, he was a symbol of no, wait, that's the wrong word, of manliness, if you want to put it that way. But the series is called Masters of the Universe, and these guys were side characters, and I think they did everyone justice. And they gave it a compelling story. They left the legacy of He-Man. They didn't diminish He-Man in any way because, as spoiler, in episode one, they take him out of the picture.
So let me weigh in here. For me, this is the first thing I've ever seen of He-Man. I
Okay.
never watched He-Man. I don't like. I only know by the power of Grayskull. I have the power.
Yeah.
That's legitimately all I know about He-Man. So I think for me, the issue that I had, because like first off and foremost, I think that the show is beautifully animated. I liked a lot of the side characters. I liked everybody. Man at Arms was one of my favorite things of the show,
Yeah.
and Orko was one of my favorite things of the show as well. I really love what they did with Orko. I think, like first off and foremost, let's just get this out the way. Wokeness and all of that stuff, which we are going to dive into detail a little bit, that's the last thing that's actually wrong with this show, in my opinion. I think the thing that's problematic is that Tila's reaction at the end of episode one
Yeah.
is I have a big problem with that.
Yeah.
And the fact that that's the chip she carries on her shoulder the entire show.
Yeah.
Like if they had just made one change where okay, she's upset, but she still stays with the kingdom, and then the king and queen task her with the journey of going to combine the swords together, like they
Yeah.
put her on that journey. I think that would have been a much better show.
Yeah.
Like the fact that they take him out, I was shocked, but I was like, okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And then the way she reacts, especially after they berate Man at Arms,
Mm.
and Man at Arms is supposed to be the person that trained her, and she
Yeah.
says, no, I'm done with all of you.
Also,
I
her
was just like,
surrogate father. Yeah.
oh, what?
I
Like,
think I think they try to. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Like, I wasn't even thinking about it from that perspective. Like, I obviously came into the conversation with the wokeness. But like you said it, I think you said it absolutely correct. Um, the woke concept of this thing, of the thing, is the least of its problems. Like, sure, the show did need one more rewrite, but I think I give it that grace because it's clearly written for fanboys. You know, they did cool things. Prince Adam doesn't look exactly like He-Man. You know, like in the other show, he just looks like He-Man with a pink shirt on and white tights. In the old show, in this one, they kept the pink shirt, but they made him scrawnier and younger, and he kind of seems like more princely, not as like majestic, and there's reasonable doubt that that these could be two different people. And like later on, I think it's in episode 5, they did a cool thing with that as well. But we'll get back to that. There's like some some cool things, but it's also very tropish. But I think that's Kevin Smith's style. He writes to tropes. But the turning point for Tila, I do like the part that she rebelled, but she could have used the fact that you're throwing my surrogate father out of this kingdom. Well, then you can't
Exactly.
have me either. Something like that.
Exactly. That would have been so much better.
Yeah, we did all of this for this kingdom, and this is how the kingdom repays us. That kind of thing. And the king doesn't even get pissed off at his wife. His wife knew as well that Adam was He-Man.
Yeah, like the king doesn't even get mad at his wife or whatever.
Yeah, I wonder what he did. Did he like beat her behind the corner, like when no one could see? Like he threw man
Don't
at
say
arms,
that.
but I only say that based on his reaction. But yeah, you are absolutely right. Like the fact that the whole thing, like I don't think they even set up Adam and Tila strong enough for that to be enough. And I think they tried to put it in by having the flashbacks of her and He-Man having moments together in each episode. You see, I think that's where they also tried to keep like the whole He-Man concept in the story or his legacy alive. That every new episode they'd start off with her sort of remembering a moment they had. And
But here's the other thing that annoyed me is that with her in particular, her whole beef, the entire show, is that he didn't tell her that he was He-Man.
yeah,
Like at some point you gotta get over it. Like you cannot go through the entire show yelling at everybody. You knew his secret and none of you told me. It's
yeah,
like he sacrificed himself to save the universe.
yeah.
That should not be your first thought. Like if my best friend had a secret, right? And
Hmm,
he sacrifices himself to save me. The first thing I'm not thinking is he kept his secret for me. The first thing I'm thinking is my friend is gone.
yeah.
Like
they
so
they didn't show enough like of her grieving or mourning or stuff like that. Like they did the tell don't show thing because I know they tried to retcon it in a couple of lines because she does have a line where she says, um, "I couldn't even grieve because I never knew the real you," you know. But that was only one line. They didn't actually show her dealing with that or coping with that.
as you were saying, they did the tell not show thing.
Yeah, they did the tell not show thing with the whole Tila character where um, they try to retcon it with a line where she does say, "I couldn't even mourn you or grieve you because I don't think I ever knew the real you." But they never actually showed her grieving or being conflicted by this. Also, like she was a master of the universe. She fought by whether it's Prince Adam or for Prince Adam and by He-Man's side for all this time. And Eternia is falling to hell because all the magic is drying up. You being just like she was just about to be knighted a man at arms, or she was just knighted a man at arms, given like one of the highest ranks, then you just give up on your whole kingdom. Like you are, I think that's the biggest flaw. The wokeness, the fact that now I'm going to get into the good, if you don't mind, unless
All
you
right.
unless you have something to add.
I do want to add something because you see, for me, the biggest problem of this show, like we're gonna get to the good stuff because there's a lot of good stuff in my
Yeah,
opinion. But I just think the weakness of that character in particular, because they didn't write her strong enough, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Like another thing, because if you dig deeper into the layers, the fact that she abandons all these people that she's fought beside, right? She doesn't even know where Man at Arms is.
yeah,
She didn't even know that Orko was dying. You know what I'm saying? It was that thing of you just turned your back on everybody based on one secret that's not even that big of a deal. And she's supposed to be the person we're rooting for.
yeah,
Because when they bring He-Man back, you get to see how nice of a dude he is. You get to
yeah,
see what type of sacrifices he's willing to make. And it's just like if you put the two characters side by side, which they do, Tila looks very, very selfish. Everybody's problem with the Masters of the Universe right now is how they wrote Tila.
yeah,
And I just want to say that to say wokeness is the problem when you don't write your characters.
yeah,
When your characters are not written well and when they don't have like good motivations or anything, then it just made it sting that much more. Because say they made Tila a man, or say they wrote He-Man the same way, everybody would flip out all the same because it's bad. I
yeah,
think the thing is that when you have a female character, yes, you got to take the extra steps. You have to because it's a female character playing in a male-dominated field. She
yeah,
has to shine well and above the rest. And if she doesn't, then it's just going to make the controversy that much more. But that being said, I attribute it to her not being written well. I don't attribute it to her being a female. I don't care about that
yeah,
stuff. That stuff's fine. Just write a proper character. Because if you look at some of the other characters, even the other female character, they were written better than Tila,
yeah.
in my opinion.
Okay, on that, like, I did think she was, when it came to badassery, she was quite badass. She she played out well when that chip wasn't on her shoulder. Her interactions with other characters, maybe not Man of Arms so much, because in my head, Man of Arms is her dad. Like, yes, it's a surrogate father, but that's her father. She didn't treat him a lot like a father. You know, she didn't treat what's his name, the robot.
Like a brother.
Didn't treat him much like a brother either, even though the robot Man of Arms played his character really well. You felt
Yeah,
his affection for his daughter,
yeah.
and how proud he was in the moments and things like that. Orca, they wrote well. Like, Orca even had badass moments in here. Like, from being this loser sort of comic relief character, when they do the jump to the future, and you re-meet Orca, it's like, damn, this character got dark. Like, he still got
Mm-hmm.
the spirit of Orca, but you can tell certain things. There are some contrivances, but that's to be expected in a show that's pulled so strongly from the source material. Um, two things I'm gonna tell you now with wokeness that I did not like. First of
Yeah.
all, why did the second lead female character look like Amber from Invincible? Like, don't they have more character models? And secondly, why is when female characters are badass, one side of her head always needs to be shaved?
Yeah.
Like, that's the first thing that jumped out at me when they did like the future forward jump. I was like, she's badass because her head shaved. Ah, fantastic. Like,
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, the character design but I mean, for me, that didn't bother me in particular.
yeah,
Like, again, I do like well-designed characters, but I like well-written characters more.
more,
Like,
yeah.
if you give me a good written character and he's got like a weird design, I can
Yeah.
get over it.
What's
Like,
the
and for the Amber thing, I will say this: that character, I liked her way more than Tila.
personality wise? Yeah.
Yeah,
I think when you sit in a writer's room writing a show like this, especially if you have multiple writers, you end up going to formula. You have we need a jaded character, so we need a character that needs to be fixed by the end of the journey, or needs to be growing their personality. Then you need to have a character that's the entryway for the viewer, the character who doesn't know anything about anything and is being taught, so that exposition feels like it flows better. You've got a legacy character, so almost like Skeletor and He-Man become legacy characters in here. They become remnants of the past. You've got the wise sage figure, which I suppose is Man at Arms, and then funny enough, Battle Cat or Cringer becomes the character of reason in this show. And
Mm.
then you've got, I thought, who was well written, who was a compelling character, was Evelyn.
Yeah, I
Evelyn
like
is like,
Evil Lynn a lot.
yeah, she's still evil. She still has her own deeds, but the greater good is 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 also a pressing journey, and how she's interacting with characters she's been fighting her whole existence to now be working side by side with them. And then, like the switch and bait that you get, like you can actually hear the remorse as well, like in, yo, that's just my thing, I'm
Yeah,
Evelyn, like,
yeah, like the other thing is that what I liked is I liked Evil Lynn and Orko when they were together because
yeah,
that was a nice moment. I enjoyed that a lot.
yeah,
And the other thing is when Orko like sacrifices himself, like that was a powerful moment. And in that moment, Tila also let me down because the first thing she wants to do is fight. I'm just like, give
yeah,
the moment some reverence.
yeah, just
She
like,
tried.
yeah, like, okay, like, yo, give the guy some time, like have a tear or something, or feel bad.
So yeah, but I mean, like Evil Lynn, her journey and the fact that she still goes back to Skeletor at the end, I still found that very interesting because
Yeah,
it's that thing of maybe it's circumstance.
yeah,
Maybe at the end of the day, Evil Lynn might not be Evil Lynn. Maybe she might be the thing that turns the tide against Skeletor,
exactly.
or maybe she finds a way to, because again, spoiler alert, towards the end they stab He-Man mid-sentence where I was just like,
They kill the
what?
homie twice. I watched on Netflix. They've got the post season sort of interview. Kevin Smith's like, we kill old boy twice. Yo, that's deep. What was dope was like, I did like the Grayskull world, or the heaven, what, Etheria, like the heaven
Yeah,
realm. The hell realm was cool because people got to face their fears and conflicts and stuff. Very Star Warsy.
yeah,
Facing yourself, facing your dark, your darkness, your fears and things like that. Again, could have been written for Tila. I think I liked Tila. I thought she like, how can I put this? Functionally, as a character, she drove the story forward, like she needed to. And I think part of the problem is she was maybe not as compelling as she could have been, but I didn't think she's as bad as we're making her out to be either.
no, I mean, look, you maybe because you're a He-Man fan,
Yeah,
so I'm just going off of this show in particular.
this
Maybe
inner
there's
honest.
more to, yeah,
Yeah,
maybe there's just more to her than And I mean, I rant and I rave, but at the end of the day, it's a fictional series. People can,
yeah,
but like I just think for me, because when they bring back He-Man, and actually when they bring back Prince Adam, and you get to see like Adam's character and everything, and they
yeah,
put her side by side, and the fact that she still like when she sees him in Etheria, she still is holding the chip on her shoulder that he didn't tell her.
yeah,
That for me is that kind of solidified it where I was just like, this could have been the turnaround moment where she just lets that go and she's
yeah,
like, it's good to see you and everything. And the fact that He-Man even goes and says, I'm gonna sacrifice my afterlife to at least call back the power of Grayskull to save the universe once
yeah,
more. And then, I'm just saying, I think that again, for me, I will say this. If they wrote Tila better, because Tila herself, like as you say, functionally, I understand. The thing that just got to annoy me too much was the fact that she was still harping on this He-Man thing.
yeah,
It just made her feel very selfish,
yeah,
especially with the characters that were surrounding her, because everybody in that circle was very selfless.
yeah,
So for her to hold this grudge, especially to hold it over Man at Arm's head,
yeah.
that was another thing that annoyed me. I was just like, look, you're a woman. It's not like you're Amber, because Amber's a teenager.
Yes.
Okay, you are a grown warrior woman. Like by episode 3, she should have been done with this.
Yeah.
By episode 3, she should have been done with the He-Man never told me, and I would have been able to accept her. Now, people's problem with, okay, actually, if you've got anything else to say about the show before we get into the controversy.
What I was actually thinking is just on what you were saying. It just popped something in my head. She never asked why. Well, I can't remember. She never asked, why did you not tell me? Like, if she was going through episode by episode trying to figure out, like, why didn't Adam tell me that he was He-Man? Like, did he have the Superman Clark Kent Lois thing going on where he wants you to fall in love with Clark and not Superman type of thing? Like, if she was asking herself, why didn't Adam tell me? Why, if she was more on that and questioning it and trying to find answers. And the more she's going down that spiral, the more it's making, playing on her. But this is the other question I wanted to ask you while you were speaking. Do you think it's time? It was time. It was the length of the show. They only had 6 episodes. Um, but then again, they had competent writers because they did a good job with Adam. Like He-Man was meant to be this cut and dry, but he actually came across quite charismatic the few times you saw him as He-Man. And when you see him as Adam, he comes across as sincere, kind of docile. The one thing I didn't like that they did with Adam, and this is a bit woke-ish, is when they're doing the hunt in the heaven realm in Etheria. They're doing the hunt and they're chasing the wildcat. Why does Adam seem so useless? He must have been doing this for a while, chasing with the other
Yeah,
guy. Is it that his body's weak or whatever? And then Tila is the one who catches him and helps him along. And it's like, you don't even know this terrain. This dude's been here for a while.
no, I think for me, I liked that in the sense,
Yeah,
because if you look at something like Clark Kent, right? Because I mean that's basically
yeah,
what the parallel is. Like the fact that he's still putting himself out there, even though he's physically vulnerable.
yeah.
Like to me, that speaks to like the heart of the character. Like I again, I don't know a lot of He-Man. I actually want to go watch the 2002 He-Man because I found 2002 or 2004
I
somewhere there.
actually never watched those remakes. I still the very
Apparently,
classic,
it's
the
really
old
good.
ones. Okay.
Apparently, it's really good, so I want to go check it out. And if anybody wants to hear a review, just let me know.
Yeah.
But like, what's this? I think like, yeah, him putting himself out there in that being physically vulnerable, it kind of added to his sincerity because, as you can see, He-Man is the power, but it's not the person.
Yes.
So that's kind of why Tila still annoyed me when she
Yeah.
was still hopping on it because I was like, it's the same guy. So he has a bit more muscles. It's the same guy.
And that's what he was trying to explain to her. What both Cringer, Battlecat, and Adam were trying to explain to her in that world. And it's like I just didn't want to sink in with her. It's like
So
you.
I think so yeah, but functionally and the action scenes with her, again, I just think they needed to change that and they just needed to make her more selfless. If they kept the same character and just tweaked it a little bit more to be more selfless, people would have less of a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
Because yes, the whole thing with it's a woman empowerment. Yeah, there's people who are being misogynistic. Like there's just people who are being totally misogynistic and they're just calling because they're legitimately going out of their way to call the show garbage, which it is not.
Yeah, it's
Like,
a,
let's
it's a
relax.
well written, well crafted show. So just because it's got a female lead character, the show is not called He-Man at this point. If He-Man, if this was the same story and Shiro was the main character and a young male came in and had the same role as Tila, I'd still feel the same. If I flipped all the
Exactly. And
it's
if he wasn't selfish as Tila, like he was busy walking around going, I can't believe Shira didn't tell me.
yeah,
I'll be irritated with
that
him.
she's
It's,
Prince
get over
Aura,
yourself.
yeah. Princess Aurora, or is it Aura?
Yeah, so I just think
Funny
the
enough,
point
I'm
of
just looking at
contention.
my phone's background screen. It's a picture of
Oh,
Sheeta.
yeah. No, I mean, I actually want to go watch it. So I think for me, again, like this is not an attack on masculinity because I know
Yeah.
one people want to frame it as that. Because let's be honest, if we go back to that '80s show, as Clyde said, it's not as deep as people think. And you guys did not support the 2002 show because it got canceled. So let's just be fair. You guys are mad because it's supposed to be He-Man show and it's Tila's show. I'm mad because I think Tila was poorly written and she's supposed to
Yeah.
carry the show. So everything around Tila, fantastic in my opinion. I loved Roboto. I thought Roboto was fun. I love that whole scene where he's apologizing as he's taking out the minions. That
Yeah.
was hilarious
Do you
to
know
me.
what? Do you know what I loved? What I thought was a very interesting concept in the world of Eternia, or it's Eternia, yeah.
Yeah.
In the universe, is that once magic started drying up, technology started raising its head because places where you couldn't use magic to do things, it had to be replaced with technology. And like with Triclops becoming like this weird fanatic religious zealot, I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, no, that was funny, but like the other thing is, I was like, Triclops doesn't have the charisma of Skeletor.
No, 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 not at all.
Like, I know that Mark Hamill is basically doing like a toned down Joker, but I was enjoying it.
Yeah,
But like, yeah, he didn't have like the as I said, the charisma of Skeletor.
yeah.
Like, I wish he had more, and I wish he was there more because he was not really that much of an opposition.
No, no,
Like,
no.
the dude in the Hell Dimension was way more opposition to the crew than
Yeah,
Triclops, and I thought Triclops was supposed to be the main villain. But
yeah.
I mean, yeah, like
But
again,
I
I
don't think,
enjoyed a lot
yeah,
of
I
that
think
stuff
he
as
was
well.
meant to be a side villain. I think he was just a foils, a means to an end. He was
Uh,
setting up how this world is working now. You know, there was also like other hints, like the sorceress, the one that looks like a bird. Can't remember her
yeah,
name right now. Um,
yeah, I think
like
it's the sorceress.
yeah, the sorceress. Like just admit and say, "Oh, Tila, I'm your mother." You know, like you can see it
Yeah, that
coming.
that also was annoying. It's like, geez.
And they didn't answer that question either. But there was
Yeah,
really, again, I'd recommend this show. If I were to give it a rating, I'd give it something like a 7.5 out of 10. And
I'd agree. I'd give it a seven. I'd give it a seven.
yeah, and I'd
Not
highly
but I'd
recommend
give
it.
it a
Check
seven.
it out.
I think the other thing that I found that I wish they could have explored more was because Tila also rejects magic, right?
Yeah,
She starts focusing way more on
yeah,
technology, and then Triclops becomes the villain using technology. So I thought they could have explored maybe Tila finding her love for magic again because she could
yeah.
see what technology could corrupt her into.
But here's the
So I
weird,
thought they,
here's the weird thing. Um, like you said, she rejected magic, yet she's on this quest to restore magic. And again,
yeah,
with Tila, with poorly written character, that conflict or that motivation wasn't strong enough. It was just like, oh, Orca's dying. Okay, let's put magic back so he can come back. Oh, he died anyway. Should we still put? She never even questioned. Okay, now do I still need to put magic back? You know, you.
I mean, they did say that the universe was in danger,
Yeah,
so I kind of gave her that because
yeah,
already I was taking a lot away from her as I was watching this thing because I was like, all right, maybe she finally at least put it aside. But then
yeah,
when she gets back with Adam, she starts talking about you didn't tell me you were He-Man again, and I was like, you had one chance, like you
yeah.
could have just let it go.
Just let it go,
So
dude. Homie died twice for you.
yeah, like again, I think the show for 5 episodes, 5 episodes is too short. I think they should have pushed
Mm,
for eight because I
mm,
think eight would have given us a better show.
yeah,
But in the 5 episodes, I think it was good. It was just that for me, Tila was the biggest issue, and it doesn't help that she's the center and the focus.
yeah,
So in
yeah.
season two, like I'll give her some grace. If they can bring her back, I will give her some grace. Because I'm not a person who writes a character off completely until
Yeah,
they do something where I'm like, you know what, I don't want to hear from you anymore.
yeah,
Like, for example, just to also piss off the male demographic that's watching this, I don't like Aaron. I think Eren is
Oh.
horrible. I think he's horrible, and his motivations, it's ridiculous. And everybody says things like he just moves until all his enemies are destroyed. He's not good or evil. It's like, what does that mean? This sounds like a fortune cookie. Like,
Yeah.
stop it. No, he sucks. He sucks. So, like, again, for me, I like well-written characters that I can really get into.
Yeah.
But if you're posturing and you're selfish, like if you're selfish and you're just selfish for selfish sakes, I'm fine with that. But if you're like selfish but you're trying to put yourself like above people type of thing,
Yeah.
or like you're trying to prop your posture and prop yourself up, then it gets annoying. And I think that Tila had the potential to be a very good character, because I think if she was top tier character, they wouldn't have a leg to stand on.
Yeah.
I just think that if she was going to be the focus, they should have put more focus into her. I would have rather had one of the side characters annoy me than the main
Yeah.
character annoy me.
I would have.
But like
Yeah.
as I said, the character design was good. One thing I also didn't like though is, as much as the animation was fluid and amazing, I think the sound design was kind of in places it wasn't like strong enough for me.
Yeah. Look, I think. Yeah. I think it was very homage. Like it
Oh,
was such a
okay.
strong homage to the classic show
Hmm.
that that might have actually knocked it a little bit. It might have actually been the straw that broke the camel's back. Trying to
Yeah.
trying to do too much homages and not doing enough new. Like they did a fair amount of new stuff, but trying to stay true because clearly what Kevin Smith and the other showrunners were trying to do was trying to keep the original shows intact but expand the universe. So this is sequel and not pre. It's sequel to what the original show, and I
Yeah.
think that's why they killed off He-Man very early on, so that He-Man lives more in the mythos or in legendary status as opposed to being a character that they could spoil, a character that they could, ruin.
But they did him so well that you were just like, man, I wanted to see more of this guy. Like
Absolutely.
I would have like, for me, if I was writing the show, I would have made Adam a side character. I would have still had Tila be the main character. I would have had them go on the journey together. And then towards the end, I would have had him do more He-Man stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I think like if they had a whole show with Adam having none of his power and just showing his sincerity as a character, and then
Yeah.
having to go on this thing to save magic, and
But
like
that's
Tila's kind of carrying the
okay.
show, I still think that would have been better.
I
Just
don't
me
know. Did they
personally.
say it's the second half of season one coming out or season two coming out?
No, it might be the second half of season one. Also, just to say, Kevin Smith, dude, I don't know if he's watching this, whatever. But Kevin Smith, bro, one thing that you should not have done is you should have not have said that He-Man was going to be the main character. You
Yeah.
shouldn't have done that. Like that I think also adds to people's irritation of the bait and switch, is
Yeah.
that the trailers and what Kevin Smith was saying in reports is like He-Man is going to be the protagonist, and then he turns out not to be. And yeah, I mean, you did flat out lie, and I understand it's promotion. I get it. People were, and it's going to generate a lot of controversy. But again,
Yes.
don't harass this
Here's
dude.
what he says. Let me read what he says. As
Yeah,
showrunner, I really could have used this story before we locked down. However, oh yeah, this is what he says. He-Man does no stepping aside, and Tila has no girlfriend in our show. The storyline is pretty dark and way metal. Before Revelation, we were calling it End of the Universe. Which is true. Which is true. He-Man technically doesn't step aside, but they do kill him off so that Tila can take
yeah. I'm
spotlight.
just saying.
But he
I'm
was,
just saying.
but
But
he,
yeah,
yeah. So I can get the confusion in that. It's because Tila has a sidekick who's also a female, so people are automatically going to woke culture. So what if they're in a relationship? They don't confirm or deny.
yeah. I
You
think, but
know?
that thing is that her obsession with He-Man is something that also leads to more confusion.
Yeah.
So maybe they're going for the angle of Tila being bi, which again, I don't care. Whatever,
Yeah,
kiss
well,
who
her
you want.
sexuality doesn't come into play into this. It's her badassery and
Yeah, like
her what was the word you used? Not stubbornness, her selfishness.
yeah,
That's the
like
our issue. It's got
yeah,
nothing to do with her gender,
yeah,
sexuality,
like
anything like that.
kiss who you want. I even think that cartoons should have more men kissing because
Yeah.
that's apparently where we are now. So they should just put it on screen. It doesn't turn your children gay. Don't worry about it. If that's
Yeah.
how it works, then just show them women kissing and they'll be back to normal. It doesn't work that way. but, but like yeah, I just think that they should have wrote it better and Kevin Smith should have advertised it as is, or he should have just stopped saying He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. He should have kept
Yeah.
on just out Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
But again, I give it a 7 out of 10. I had
Yeah.
a lot of fun with it. I had a lot of fun watching it. The only thing that irritated me was the way Tila was behaving.
Yeah.
But outside of that, everything else I enjoyed a lot.
My 7.5 on my side as well. If they were to put two more episodes between episode one and episode three, and just expanding on Tila and her finding her new place, and this new character that she's hanging out with. Um, two more episodes there, then it might have been a nine. But yeah, 7.5.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And I think also they should have had her at least go look for Man at Arms and Orko
Yeah,
before,
right,
like,
right.
she should have known what was going on with them, in my opinion.
Yeah,
But again,
she literally abandoned everything and everyone.
yeah. So again, I think it's a poorly written character, and that's the only problem with this show. But moving on. So yeah, we covered all of that stuff. So let's get to some anime. So yeah, I got a suggestion to watch this isekai because I'm not a fan of isekai so much, and I know apparently you're not a fan of
Yeah,
isekai that much
not
either.
my favorite.
So we checked out this anime series called Sin. Whoa, what was it called? Yeah, we don't speak Japanese, so please don't get offended.
I actually learned a little bit of Japanese, but I can't pronounce it still.
Seirei Gensouki.
Seirei Gensouki, yeah, Gensouki,
I think we'll go with that.
yeah,
So we watched Seirei Gensouki. It's a new anime launched this year. There's 3 episodes out, and we can get into it. Do you want to go first, or
yeah.
should
No,
we? Okay.
I think, um, I don't know if most people know what isekai. Isekai is basically where a person from a contemporary universe either dies or their spirit gets transported or they get taken to some kind of fantasy world or odd world. The two of the most famous ones is that time I got turned into a spider, or is it called the time I got turned into? There's one with a slime and one with a spider.
Oh yeah, reincarnated as a
As
slime.
a slime, and then the timer got turned into a
Yeah.
spider. It's that kind of shows. It's they basically a person from the contemporary world gets put into a fantasy world type of world with magic and or dragons and things like that. But they either remember elements from their past life, from their contemporary life, or it comes back as tools to make them a hero in that world. So
I need to actually watch Reincarnated as a Slime because apparently it's pretty good.
yeah,
One isekai that I enjoyed actually a lot was Shield Hero because
okay.
I thought that the way they did Shield Hero, you should check it out. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
got
yeah.
two
I haven't
seasons.
seen Shield Hero yet.
Yeah, it's actually that's one isekai that I like, but I think I liked it because they didn't do the spirit transfer. Like two things about isekai. Okay, first off, why is it always a bus? What
Yeah,
is it with these buses that have magical power that can transfer people's spirits to
yeah.
other realms?
Well, apparently in this one, it was a train.
Well, he's in a bus, and the
Yeah,
bus goes out of control. So there's still a bus involved. I'm still like, there's always a bus involved.
yeah,
And then two, like the whole thing of them being reincarnated as a spirit in another world for me is just confusing because
yeah,
I'm like, what is so with Shield Hero, just to talk Shield Hero real quick, which I'm hoping they get a season 3. But with Shield Hero, what happens is that this dude he ends up reading a book and it turns out to be a magic book that transfers him into this other world. And now he can get back, but he has to complete this quest to get back. But his real life sucks, and in this magical world, he's doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So he kind of decides to stay in the magical
He's
world, which is
conflicted. That makes sense.
yeah.
That's a cool
So
premise.
yeah, so like with when we get to I forgot what the name is already.
Seiko what? Seirei Gensouki.
Yeah, there we go. So when we get to Seirei Gensouki, I mean, they do have an interesting thing, but I want to say, in my opinion, so first off, again, spoilers for episodes 1, 2, 3 of Seirei Gensouki. If you haven't watched it, there is time codes. Okay, but now getting into this thing, um, for me, the isekai element is bringing it down. In my
Yeah.
in my personal opinion, I feel like it's kind of bringing it down. Like they could have done a cool thing where it's like a Kurama type of thing where he has this spirit inside of him that helps
Yeah.
him achieve these things. And then maybe they can explore that a little bit more because they do introduce that kind of element in the show. Like he's some sort of spirit mage or something
Yeah.
real, or he comes from like a
It's got
country of
a
spirit mages.
It's called Spirit, or what's Kensuke Spirit Warrior, Spirit Vengeance, something like that. It got something
Something,
Spirit in the subtitle type of thing. Um,
yeah.
you're right, but then it probably wouldn't been an isekai anymore, you know. Um,
Yeah, but I mean, like
and the
that's the
fact
thing.
that
It's for me, isekai. I'm more of a shonen dude.
yeah,
So,
me
but
too,
but anyway, you were
absolutely.
saying,
Like even like as I was telling you earlier, like as much as I like the style. As much as I like to draw that style and color it and do art in that style, I don't know if I like anime in the style anymore. You know, like
mm,
the big eyes, the colorful hair. It looks. This show looks absolutely amazing. I just don't know if it's for me anymore. And like it's too fluffy. It's too padded. It's too cutesy. Like I know they put really dark themes in here, which is, I suppose, it's a juxtaposition. But this is a kind of an isekai turned on its head, because his soul doesn't replace the main character or the character he jumps into. They're kind of fusing. And what's also an interesting premise is the fact that he's an older character jumping into a younger character. So he's someone who's probably been in or is in university and going to school and things, and now he has to go to like elementary school to be a knight, to be like a fighter. And his karate from the contemporary world turns into magic powers in this fantasy
yeah,
world. Other problem I had is the fantasy world is like way generic. It could have
yeah.
been it
It's
could have been
it's
seven
it's
deadly sins, it could have been
yeah. You wouldn't have known the difference.
yeah.
Although I do like the fact that he keeps spanking the royals, and then he's still nice about it. Like I did enjoy that a lot. Like he spanks them, and then after that, he's still like all nice about it, and they just can't get it all. I like that.
Yeah,
That was I enjoyed that because I enjoy like seeing royals get their comeuppance
yeah.
because that's always fun to me
But
because those royals were really annoying.
there's also kind of like a maturity in the character, because like when he first is going to be introduced to the king, he goes to the
Yeah,
one sister and he's like, teach me the etiquette so that I can
yeah.
put my best foot forward. And like that's actually thinking. It's not like, oh, the character would just come out there. And what's with the rock and roll music when he comes out?
Yeah, that was that. I didn't understand that. I thought he was going Super Saiyan for some reason. But
Yeah, it's
anyway.
like, yo, is this dude gonna beat the king up? Like it's like a wrestling intro.
What's funny is that in the anime, the kingdom is way more sinister than it is in. I mean, in the manga, the
Hmm,
kingdom is way more sinister than in the anime. Because, like in the manga, the royals are like, we can't have a peasant save the
yeah.
princess. It's going to be a bad look for the kingdom and all of that stuff. So they keep him in the house so that they can monitor him and try and manipulate the situation. So
Ah,
that
I
when you
see.
get to episode 3 when he has to leave,
Hmm,
they say, okay, finally we have something on this dude.
yeah.
Now he's not a problem anymore. And like that's the thing for me. There's
Yeah,
so much interesting stuff happening, but like the isekai for me, just it makes it way more confusing
yeah.
because now
And
like
the
this dude
fact
has
that
his
it's
own.
that it's
Sorry, go
starting
ahead.
to feel like a harem series as well.
Yeah,
Everyone is like, oh, he's cute, oh, making eyes and giving him the long stares as he walks
yeah.
away. Like,
I don't know. Also, I'm not into harems that much.
me,
Like, I
yeah.
know, guys, I know that's supposed to be like, oh my God, but like, no, a harem. Hey, marry as many wives as you want. I'm looking for one because
Yeah.
already two in my book is too much. Like, yo, I can't imagine the amount of fights.
So yeah, like it's interesting what you were talking about, the dark, how dark it is. I think that only really comes through in the first episode because
Yeah.
then he gets brutalized. They f him up
Oh,
after
yeah.
they throw him in jail. You know, like,
Yeah, that was some old school apartheid interrogation. I was like,
yo.
shoot.
And just because like and I suppose it goes to show, just because he comes out of like the slums,
Yeah,
the royals automatically assume he couldn't do anything good. And then
yeah,
once he gets into night school, or he does it, I think in episode 3, he literally he's what is it, like his teacher, he's the lieutenant or whatever the guy is his
yeah.
teacher now. It's like his instructor type of dude, and he has to face this dude in this. It's not a tournament. It's like a
It's
vetting
well,
process,
kind of. It's
like a
like a night
vetting,
thing.
yeah, like a vetting process type of thing.
Yeah, there we go.
And this dude is going in on him, right? And it's like an
Hey, no,
adult. It's like an adult against, like, what is he, 13, 12?
he's 11.
Is
No,
he
actually, he's
11?
10 years old. He's
Is
10
he
years old.
10?
Yeah, he's 10 years
Jeez,
old at
that makes
that
it
point.
worse. I thought it was like a preteen or a teenager
Oh well,
already.
I mean that's anime formula. Like if you
Yeah.
look at Naruto, Naruto was 12 when he was supposedly dying,
Right?
and like these adults, and Gohan is another example when he was like 9 years old. Raditz was punching him into like oblivion,
Yeah.
and that time Raditz looks like he's a 45-year-old man. So that's anime 101 to have adults pick on kids,
Okay.
but. But
Yeah.
like, yeah, it was hilarious, and the fact and the way that he loses at the end, and then you just like, and then you have like his superior just come in and yell at him like a little boy. I was like, yeah, I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that
Look,
quite a
I
bit.
think I think it's different enough. I haven't seen the anime. I'll be honest. This is the first I heard of this show.
Yeah,
Not now, but during the week.
yeah,
Um, I will give it up to episode 6. I know that there's a
yeah.
rule that
That
there's a
sounds good.
rule in anime. That's why they release it in threes. If you're not hooked by if you're not hooked by 3 episodes, you probably won't get hooked. But I'll
Yeah,
give it another 3 episodes. There was some interesting premises. I'd like to see more about because, like, unlike other isekai, the one soul doesn't replace, like, the contemporary or the future. I don't know what do you call it.
I have no
The
idea.
guy from the real world normally replaces the guy from, or the body from the he takes over the body from the fantasy world. In this one, it seems like maybe they're going to be in conflict, or maybe they're going to fuse into a new personality, because he does get memories from the previous life, and there is elements from the, and when his powers come out, when his abilities to fight come out, they call on his real world name to call out those
Yeah,
powers. So I'd actually like to see more of that and what they do with it, and how being a 20-year-old in, like you said, a 10-year-old's body affects him when he's going through the day to day of school or the academy or whatever, you know. I'm
oh no,
curious
I
to.
think he's out of the academy at this point
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
think,
At the end of the third episode, he leaves.
yeah. So
But
I
to
mean, like
see to
I
see
do.
how that evolves, I mean,
Yeah,
like how he
I
interacts with
do
other
think that's
people.
very interesting. I do think that's very interesting. I just hope that the explanation holds because this can go either way. It can either be very clever or it can be very stupid. And if
Yeah.
it's very stupid, then I'm out. Like I can't do it.
Also, I'm hoping they bring out dubbed episodes, because when I'm busy, I can't always like just sit and concentrate. You're already trying to watch action and read. My eyes are already
Yeah.
doing that and trying to work at the same time.
Man, speaking of that though, I saw your piece on Instagram. Is it done?
Yeah. It's more or less done. I actually just
Oh,
need to.
it looked awesome. Like Hellboy looks amazing. Hellboy looks like he should have been in Naruto.
Yeah. I tried to get him. Um, I gave him like the Killer Bee physique, but I
Yeah,
wanted to give him more of like the Orochimaru, Sasuke attire.
yeah.
Yeah.
It looked good. It looked really good.
I'm putting him all in kabuki, but that was the commission request to put on the kabuki masks.
Yeah. No, it looked really good. I liked it a lot. All right, so that is our anime talk. I still think that anybody that likes Isekai will like this.
Yeah.
For me, I'm still either way because
Yeah.
I don't like Isekai in general. Like Isekai is just not. I like shonen. Like
Yeah.
I know it's stereotypical, but I like my Asian people to be fighting and kicking. I like other things,
Yeah.
but I want to see fighting and kicking. That's just I know it's childish. Because I know somebody out there is going to be like, "Oh, you're such a child." It's like, yes, and
Your favorite anime says a lot about your personality.
yeah,
And
and
weirdly, like at the moment, my favorite one, I'm gonna just throw it out there. You probably know it's My Hero Academia. That's my thing. But
mm,
then again, I'm also a weirdo because Kenichi, the world's strongest disciple,
yeah,
even though that's got a lot of fan service
yeah, it
here and
does.
there, I really like that anime. I don't know why. It's an old one, a classic, but
Yeah, I actually watched that and I finished the manga.
yeah,
The manga has less fan service though. Like
yes.
the fan service does get reduced, but Kenichi's the only thing I don't like about that thing is they never put who's the chick that he's with that's the
Oh,
daughter of
the blonde one, the blonde girl.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm saying they never put her and Kenichi together. I'm just like, yo, okay, can we just hurry this up?
yeah. They strongly imply it, but they don't ever. Not
Yeah,
really.
Chekhov's gun. Like, shoot the
Yeah,
gun already.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but he's terrified of her grandfather.
No, I know, but like, he can let it go.
Yeah,
Anyway, we getting into other
into
things
other
now.
stuff.
So, one thing that we actually do need to talk about moving on is that we talked about it last time. We chopped it up towards the end, and yeah, anybody who watched the previous podcast that we did, we were talking about things in the South African industry that do
Yeah,
need to change. What we like, what we don't like, and all of those things. So I did compile a bit of a list for me, and just like three things that I personally I'm like I think we can do better here, but then also three things where I'm like actually we're not doing too bad over here.
yeah,
So I think thing for me number one is we need to stop holding people to a particular culture. Like I think if that if that like it's not to say don't be proud of your culture or whatever, but if somebody is doing something culturally in the comic book space and it's not exactly what you envisioned, I don't think that's bad. And a lot of the time, wherever you've seen it, people will just get on it because it's not the exact representation that they want. And I'm just like, you will get that eventually, but tearing down what is there is not helpful.
yeah. It's this. It goes two ways. It's like you get the international mindset where if you're doing an African comic or an African content or African anything, like I don't want to be that asshole who's pointing fingers because I'm not pointing fingers. Any content that's coming off our continent, out of our country specific, I am extremely proud of. But
Yeah,
there's also there is an amount of some places there's an amount of pandering that is happening to international audiences where oh it's huts, we've got lions and wild animals walking around, it's a story about a young girl with dusty feet running on a dirt road who doesn't have water every day. Everywhere in our country and our continent is not like that. Yes, for
Yeah,
sure we have rural areas that are like that, but it also doesn't mean that those people are hating their lives. I grew up in a township on the Cape Flats, and some of those moments are the happiest moments of my life. Doesn't mean that because I lived in the Cape Flats around gangsterism, that gangsterism, yes, it did personally touch me in ways, but personally affect me in certain ways, but it doesn't mean that it affected my life in such a way that I'm devastated by it and that it's defining factors for me. It just happens to be circumstance, and those type of things aren't always your defining factor. Why not? And I'm going to use again my comic book. I'm going to play a bit of bias, or the comic book I work on with Loiso Kize and Mohale Mashiko. Kwezi. Kwezi is set in a contemporary South Africa. So we wear, we don't wear, our characters don't wear loincloths and leotards. Okay, some of them do wear leotards
yeah,
and loincloths actually. Um,
yeah.
but that's
But
for
I
that's
get
for
what
the
you're saying.
superhero look. But it's set in a contemporary world. We've got massive buildings, good infrastructure. It looks like outside. It's not just a pandering array. And so at the same time, like, what is it to be a certain thing? What is it to be Koza? Or what is it to be Zulu? To be Zulu isn't walking around every day with your hide shield and your assegai. It's not that, and sandals. You have different things. There's modernized cultural appropriations that have also happened. Why can't we see that? Why does it need to be everything need to be the deep cultural? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I totally hear what you're saying. I mean, again, I understand because you get your things like your Game of Thrones, you get
yeah,
your Vikings, you get all of the old, the white people's history things.
yeah,
So you get all of those shows because they keep pushing that stuff out. So I can understand the need to want to see more stuff. But what we're talking about is reaching a compromise.
yeah,
And I think the thing is that we can't reach that compromise if we tear down what we're putting out.
yeah.
That's the thing. That's like one thing I've noticed, especially for me, because as you can hear in my accent, it's good. It's problematic for a lot of reasons, and people make certain assumptions about me and all of that stuff and everything, and like so, it's things of that nature where I'm just like, all right, we can relax with stuff like that because
Yeah,
I think yeah. So I think anybody that's pushing a positive representation of what we have here, even like yeah, I mean the dusty feet thing, let's stop let's relax with that a little bit, just in the sense that it's supposed to be something that's making us desolate because
yeah,
there are people who are thriving in those communities who
yeah.
don't actually need help. And the help they need is not the help you think that they need.
Yes,
So, yeah, that can, but at the same time, I think also if you get people like me who grew up internationally, who are still proudly from South Africa, trying to push out South African content, coming at me and saying, "Oh, you don't speak this, or you don't have this, or why do you sound like that, or you're not a true representation. You're trying to be American." I was like, "This is who I am. This is all I got. I have
dude.
nothing
How do
else."
how do you think that is for me? Like, like, I come from a mixed bag of cultures to put me here, yet I'm proudly South African. Like, I've been asked a question, and this is also one of those things in our industry, because you're bringing up questions, so I'll bring up this as my issue with the industry as well, is the massive problem we have with brain drain. Who's
Yeah,
gonna if our best talents go overseas and work for, yes, I'm very proud of them working for the top top companies and makers and people who do that, but then there's no one left to actually build the infrastructure here. If all our best people are going and not, and like, I know it might be a sacrifice. Like, if I were to go work in the States, I probably make 5, 6 times what I can make now, easily. Because South Africans are notorious of being hard workers. Um, but once you keep it here, because there aren't other steps in place, and this will lead into my next point, it makes it difficult to stay stern. I have this one friend who's this, I don't know if I said this before, if I'm repeating myself.
No, go ahead.
I have this one friend who's a heart surgeon, a thoracic surgeon, and he refuses to move out of the Cape Flats because he feels that once the money leaves the Cape Flats, you only build other areas. You don't build the areas you come from. You don't rejuvenate them because cash. Once you get to a state where you can make or you make a certain amount of cash, you move out of your areas you come from, and they stay in the same stasis. They never move
Yeah,
out of
yeah,
it. They
yeah.
never
No,
get
I mean that's
gentrified.
also a big thing. Like that's also a big thing. Like for me, I never grew up in like the Kasi. I never that
Yeah,
like I used to visit and
yeah,
all of that stuff. So I've always been an outsider. But the cool thing about being an outsider is you get to see everything. So
yeah,
you get to see the good and you get to see the bad.
yeah.
And the thing is about these places, because I mean we're getting into like very political areas, but
Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
bring it
yeah.
back to
Socio-economic standards.
but like the thing is this is that for me there's so much vibrance and there's so much creativity and there's so much opportunity in these areas, but like extenuating circumstances and past histories and people's psychologies and everything, they make you think those places are terrible and that you have to get out.
Yeah,
And what I would say is that for me personally, like I'm planning to travel, I am planning to go do some work overseas, but I want to bring stuff back.
yeah,
And I think that's where the failure happens is people they get too comfortable where they are and they never bring anything back.
yeah,
And I think if you can bring stuff back, especially now with the internet, because for example, the book that I'm writing, Neon Wave, right? My main audience at the current moment right now is Americans. And that's going to be actually my second issue with the industry that we have here
yeah,
in terms of consumers, but I'll get back to that now. But my point is that I can sell from where I'm at and I can generate money that can come from these places that we quote unquote revere. And then I can use that money in my community or in the space that I'm at to build that community in particular.
yeah,
Because for me, that's personally my goal is that I kind of want to put, like with the universe I'm trying to build, I kind of want to put a superhero in every province.
yeah,
That's kind of the hope that I have. So definitely like brain drain in essence is when you go out there and you never come back.
yeah,
And I feel like people, if they go out there and they make it, they should look, do what you want. I can't control you, whatever. And I still, to a high extent, I am very proud of you that you came from South Africa and that you're working for Disney or whatever. But like the amount of opportunity here, because remember, Disney also sees it.
yeah,
Like one thing that I want to say, here's my second thing, is that South Africans and in general, this is all of us as consumers, we never love anything until the world loves it first.
yeah.
When the world loves it first, then we love it. That doesn't make sense to me. Like a great example, what was that song that was everywhere with Dr. Malinga or whatever? I'm trying to remember the song now. I didn't like that song, but like the Pope liked it or something in Italy, and then it was going all over the world. Jeez, what was it again?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Cut.
I'm trying to remember this song. What's it? I can't remember. My dad even liked the song. Why am I forgetting? Anyway,
You're not talking
uh,
about Jerusalem, no? No.
there we go.
Oh,
There
it's
we
that
go.
song.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Jerusalem. There we go. Jeez, I don't know why I blanked out there.
Yeah.
but
Oh, yeah, yeah.
but like yeah,
Yeah, it's like things like the Antwoord, or like I don't like them that much here in South Africa from a South African standard, but they're huge internationally.
yeah,
It is sad. South Africans don't easily support South African content. You'd easily watch, and I don't know if they think that like our production value was, it might have been, but it's not anymore. A lot of the stuff you're actually watching internationally is stuff probably done by or has a good few South Africans involved in it, and you don't even know because when they got the name in the credits, they don't tell you the nationalities with it. Um, but on that point, that you're making about or talking about brain drain, what's happening currently? is fantastic because these big organizations aren't just taking the IP or the content and producing it somewhere else. They're actually putting funds into our studios and co-producing with our producers and things like that. And that's a great way to, but that's more in the animation sphere.
Yeah.
I am a lot focused on the comic book sphere. The animation sphere is doing well and doing its things on its own. So I'm grateful and glad I was a bit of a part of that a couple of years back, over 10 years back, and stepping into it a little bit now again. But for the last decade, I've been comic book focused, and I kind of want to talk about. Should I jump into that, or do you want to go on to your next topic?
No, well, I mean, this whole discussion is basically
It's
like holistic.
yeah,
So I think the third thing for me, I'm just trying to quantify is I think the third thing for me also is that what's this? When people like what's this? If something is low quality, quote unquote, people also need to remember that the places we revere, they just had a head start.
yeah,
Like that's it. Like if you go back to some of that stuff, it was ridiculous. Like some of those movies, terrible. Some of those comic books, terrible. Some
yeah,
of those animated shows, terrible.
yeah,
All they had was a head start. So I think for me, because like I will say this now, I'm heavily biased towards like South African comics. Like if I review a South African comic, anything that I think that could be better, I'm not gonna say it in my review.
yeah,
I'm just not gonna do that. And people might go, well, then you're not being like, fair,
fair,
or you're not being and my counterpoint to that is this industry has been dogged on so much. In fact, the African continent, like the world has been unfair to it so much that if I'm trying to uplift it, I have to counterbalance that.
yes.
So if I'm going to hyper focus on the good stuff, it's for that reason. And if you have a problem with that, that's your business. But like for me, I want like the comic book industry here, I want it to be on that level. And when we get to that level, then I will be more fair. Fine, whatever. Until that time, you're going to hear all the positive things about South African comic books.
But
I
I
mean,
need you to dog on. I need you to dog on Kwezi so I know where to improve. Come on, dude. Do
no,
me.
that I actually love. Like legitimately, objectively, that I actually love. So,
um,
but I mean, like there's other like comic book producers who are doing stuff in black and white. They don't have all of the resources, and they're also like sending me stuff.
yeah,
So for me, I'm just like, I want you to be at a higher level first before I start being too critical of you,
yeah.
because I feel like building the industry for me is way more important than trying to fit some sort of standard people want me to fit type of thing. So I
Okay.
think those are my three things for the
Woo!
industry that I think we need to deal with.
I need to take a breath for what I'm about to say. So first of all, um, we've only had what I consider maybe two successful companies that have mass produced comic books in South Africa. And that
Yeah,
is Strike Entertainment and Mamba
yeah,
Media. And Mamba Media. Um, and a lot of the comic books that they do produce is corporate comic books. It's not entertainment comic books. Um,
mm,
Striker broke the mold because they had a fantastic business model where they converted the IP that was the comic book into an animated show which made revenue we could feed back into the comic book. Striker actually had the highest distribution of comic books in the world. Why? Because they were able to offer their comic books for free. I think they were doing like something like 60,000 comics a month, and that's a
yeah,
lot on a from an international level even.
yeah.
um
Because Sunday Times, I always used to collect it just
Sunday
for the
Times,
comic
and
book.
then later on it was You Magazine, Huisgenoot, Drum. So it was, they had a good plan, and the one entity fed into the other entity and kept the company going, and still going. And they had corporate. Now Mama Media focus more on the corporate side of things, and they do, training brochures, or brochures, um, I thought I said brazier for a second. um, pamphlets, books, comics, teaching aids, those kind of things. And that's a good market. I make a lot of my money as well doing that independently. Um, but therein lies the rub. We don't have publishers out there for us as comic book creators to go to with our content and say, yeah, I have this book, I have this idea, I'm a writer, I wrote the story. Can you hook me up with some artists? And then you take your cut, but you handle distribution and marketing and blah, blah, blah. We don't have that infrastructure even set up here in our country. Most of our comic creators or indie comic creators, if you want to print your books, you have to do it out of your own pocket. Kwezi is one of the few outliers because we managed to get a novel or someone that did children's books and novels, a publisher, to actually consider. So this is all dubs to or big ups to Loiso, who was able to get a publisher like that, New Africa Books, who did us the world's good. Um, and they actually put faith in us. Oh, the story's dope, the art looks cool. Let's publish your book. Even so, of royalties you make off something like that, it's not sustainable. Especially if you have multiple people on the team, you can't live off just royalties of a book like that. So you have to do other work. You have to find other means. And I hate the fact that once I went to a book fair, I can go in on this topic. So just tell me if I'm going too far or
No,
getting too
please
controversial.
continue.
I once went to a book fair, obviously being as an author, being invited to a lot of these book fairs and stuff. And I was I on? I don't even know if I was in the audience or on the panel, but I spoke a lot in that book fair. No, I actually think I was in the audience. I wasn't even on the panel. And they had publishers up on stage, and the publishers were talking and saying, we need more content, and we have such a, they were saying the same things I'm saying, we've such amazing talents and we need more content, and people just don't want to write and put out their work. They don't know what it
Uh,
is.
uh,
Then I asked the question is, um, oh, then I asked the question, okay, so I'm a creator. How do I put out content but sustain myself and use this, my love and my passion for writing and for creating and for doing art, and for doing comic books? How do I turn that into a full on career? And basically, the publisher's answer to me is, do it on the side and don't quit your day job. And I hated that answer. Basically, the publishers are saying they don't have infrastructure to pay you as a writer. They want you to write and create in your free time. So you're taking I suppose yes, it is taking a risk because they can't invest in someone who they don't know the merits of your talent. Um, but they're not going out and commissioning people to write them books and paying you for your work or your things. Basically, you need to create in your free time, use your own sweat equity, then pitch it to them, and they'll decide whether they publish it or not. And even if they do publish it, sales and marketing is not guaranteed, so you don't know what kind of kickbacks you'll get, what kind of what's the thing I'm looking for? Royalties and things like that you'll make out of it. So you can put out a book, you can put in all the effort, put your book out there. If you just want your book to be out there and start to be recognized as an artist or an author, fantastic, and get it published. But to make money off it, I still haven't completely cracked that nut. And and I know Loiso as well, one of our biggest aspirations over the last 5 years maybe was trying to focus and create a business plan where we could create a publisher that could be something like Marvel or DC, where we could get artists and hire them in house and create entertainment content. Do the striker model, but instead of being corporate models, do entertainment models. work with publishers and get distribution rights. We're able to pay writers, staff artists and freelancers and get them in a stable together to work on content, and they can get paid for that content. We're still working on it, but obviously things like COVID happened and plans fall out of the way. Then it's a really difficult journey. Like that is my heart's desire, my biggest desire and passion for my legacy that I like to leave behind one day. Um, but it's difficult. I'm still working on it. I haven't given up on it. I needed to take a break from that direction a little bit. Capital and investment and money, unfortunately, the thing that makes the world go round is the most difficult part of that plan.
Well, I mean that goes back to what I was saying before with South Africans don't like something until the world likes it.
Yeah,
Because here's the thing, those their answer. Okay, first off, like it's not helpful at all
yeah,
because you're just saying just don't do it. That's basically what you're saying, and you guys are the publishers,
yeah,
so like publishers as well. Our publishers here, they're very old school, like they're not taking advantage of the technology that we have now. They're not like opening pages that they can use to get to solicit more funds. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like there's avenues that people can explore. They're just not exploring them
yeah,
until somebody does something that creates such a huge splash. Then they're going to explore it.
yeah.
Like a great example of this is we should have had a con, like a huge national con. We should have had one years ago. I think the fact that we only kind of got one after Black Panther
Three
is
years
kind
ago,
of,
4 years ago? Was it four
yeah,
years? Yeah,
yeah, somewhere there. Like I'm saying, the fact that that was our national con, like we did not need Comic Con to come to South Africa. In
yeah,
my personal opinion, I feel like we could have done it, but the only reason it happened was because of Black Panther, and that's what I mean.
yeah.
So what
And
I'm
the
saying
cons
is
and
that,
the cons we did have, like Free Comic Book Day and FanCon, were small in comparison to a
yeah,
national size con. When we got Comic Con we realized the scale, and I had to go all the way to you guys, to Josie, to experience
yeah.
that. We had a fantastic con in Cape Town, but it did by no means had the type of range and size that Comic Con had.
Thank you for signing my book, though. I still, but I think the thing is for me, especially like one thing that I'm trying to do, especially with my book, because like for me, I know my audience. I'm not gonna be able to sell to South Africans yet. I
Yeah,
hopefully one day I will be able to, because I know for me, I grew up mostly overseas, so a lot of my references is Disney and the Cartoon Network
yeah,
and all of that stuff. But I am wanting to, as like you said, make a space for people who can create, who know those South African references and can do stuff like that for superheroes like that. I'm definitely also trying to push in that direction.
yeah.
And one thing I would want to say is that if those publishers could maybe open something like a We Funder and
Mhm.
then use those funds to maybe take a chance on a project,
Hmm.
that's stuff I would look for. But like for them to just shut it down completely, it speaks to the fact that, because I promise you now, once that cartoon comes out, right? The Quasi cartoon comes out and it catches heat internationally, because I've already shown like the Popeye teaser, that the
Yeah.
Popeye teaser that you guys did. I showed it to some
I'm
people.
trying to get the new teaser was showcased on CNN um, a week, 2 weeks ago, a little while ago. I'm still fighting with our producers and stuff and the rest of the team, but I want that thing to go live so we can start sharing that one, the new one. I think the new
Yeah,
one
like
looks quite cool.
Instagram is a great place, because I
Yeah,
think the other thing is that what we also have to kind of accept is that right now cartoons and content is not like how it used to be, because Marvel and then they used to sell to everybody because that was the one source. Now there's other sources building, so you kind of have to build a community
yeah,
around the thing that you're building. So Instagram is a great place to start marketing stuff like that, especially to reach people who are interested in those things.
yeah.
Twitter, I wouldn't say Twitter because Twitter you kind of need a big following first.
Yeah,
Like you're not going to build a following on Twitter. You're going to build a following on other platforms and then
and
drive
then
people to
to
Twitter.
Twitter. Yeah,
Yeah. But like Facebook also is a great place to like because you want to target an audience type of thing.
yeah,
But the thing is with these publishing houses, in my personal opinion, they're not making those steps.
yeah,
Like I feel like if they could make those steps in that direction and then like kind of kind of have a fund of some sorts, because remember, you don't have to put in a lot of money. Like one thing that South Africans need to realize is that we actually are a large population, especially like black, colored people, Indian people. We're a large population. So if all of us put $2 in a We Fund a campaign,
yo, yeah, 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 yeah.
just $2 each in a We Fund a campaign, that's enough to at least launch a major comic book or cartoon.
Like,
So
yeah,
it's things of that nature. I'm saying like industry heads need to start looking at stuff like that. We need to, especially South Africa, we need to also stop being 10 years behind with technology because that's literally our equalizer in this entire game
yeah,
is to use more technology to start pushing stuff more because like for your stuff, right? For Quezi, I've been freely marketing it of my own
I
volition because
appreciate that.
I love to do that. I'm not looking for any payday or anything. Honestly, I don't care about that. Well, the reason I've been doing it though is because I really believe in that product. So I've been showing people like because I have a large American audience and
Yep,
British audience. I've been showing them the Popeye teaser. I've been showing them all of that stuff, and they love that intro, like the one with Quasi flying and then he
flying in and
lands.
getting the
Yeah,
message. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and then he's getting the message. Yeah, like they love that teaser. They like somebody was asking me when does this drop, and I was just like, go follow Clyde and Mauricio and teaser. I don't know,
So
but
yes, no,
but
no,
like
no.
yeah, using the little influence that I have, I've been using the internet to market specific things. I've done the same thing for Razor Man. I've done the same thing for Ntate Molefe.
Yeah,
I'm so going in that direction. Like that's why that video I released where I was like news outlets, people with influence
yeah,
start reporting on these people, start pushing more technology because if we're in the fourth industrial revolution we
very
should
much.
use it to build our industry
Yeah,
because then it's not like it's not impossible. I think a lot of people are in the mindset of because I know growing up, that's what I heard is that comic books is in Totamaho, it's white people
yeah,
stuff. so so like and I know, but like the thing is that Black Panther unfortunately and fortunately it showed that there is a market for those type of things, like
yeah,
there is a market for people who are hungry for that content. So I definitely think in the media space if people can really step up, start using technology and start like targeting and start doing more stuff like you guys were doing where you were doing free comic book days where you're going to schools and handing
yeah,
kids books and stuff like that, if they can start doing stuff like that we can make this look palpable.
yeah,
Because one thing that I'm sad about is that growing up, I always had a passion for creating stuff, but I was in an environment that didn't encourage that. So I didn't chase it a lot sooner than I could have. Like
yeah,
it's not a regret now, but it's just something that I realized. And
yeah.
I don't want people who are coming after me to have that as well. Like my brother, for example, also he's a self-taught artist. He's actually doing an amazing job.
Yeah.
Like we released like 2 comic book pages he did, and I'm blown
Yeah,
away.
I saw
So
some of his stuff is really good. I saw some of that early stuff for
yeah,
Video Wave. Yeah, and his colors and stuff is looking nice, like
yeah, like I couldn't believe it because he's self-taught. Like,
yeah,
and I'm saying to cultivate a skill like that, I don't want him to not chase that per se.
yeah.
So definitely, as you're saying, building the industry in South Africa, which we can ship to the world. Because remember now, this is not 1995. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's not like where Disney is the only place where people are gonna get paid. You know what I'm saying? You
But
can
here's
build.
here's here's our two problems. Like one of our problems in our country is that we're still where the American industry was in 1950 with comics.
Yeah,
But we have talent that's equivalent to the talent. Like we all, I'm not saying that the people in the 1950s didn't have talent. I'm saying we have the technology and the equipment to to speedball, to rapidly catch up. Um, what I don't understand and what I'm still trying to figure out is when it comes to what is so different from the animated TV genre to the entertainment that is books on paper, that is sequential visual art, which is comic books, you know? Uh, what's the big difference? Because animated shows and TV is sequential visual art, and books, comic books, graphic novels, that's also sequential visual art. Why don't we have the same kind of funding systems that you just brought up? Funding systems that we have for animated shows, for books. Why can't you pitch an idea for a book to like you would the NFVF or DTI or one of these funders? And it's also entertainment. Tell them, go as a company, pitch DTI and tell them, I want to create this book. I need this much funding to put together to get to pay my colorist, to pay my illustrator, to pay my writer, or I'll be the editor, so that we can do this and we'll put out this book. This is for equipment. This blah 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 blah. And you're going according to that kind of system. We haven't started investigating things like that. Most people, which is probably, unfortunately, probably your best direction to take, would be to get a GoFundMe or Kickstarter or what did you say,
A
a
we
we fund,
funder, yeah.
to do those kinds of things, because that's the easiest way to get other people to help fund your thing. Um, yes, fine and well, but remember the capital you get in, you also can't fully invest that capital, because part of that capital will need to be reinvested in your investors. So you have to, which I think is fair. You send them copies of your book or art or signed thank you notes or stuff. But what's the expectation of the people that invested in you as well? It's the same like having a patron, for instance, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I think if we can talk about it at least and go in that direction, it's better
Yeah,
than nothing. So, like for me,
agreed.
with my book in particular, once we finally get issue one out, and I do like a WeFunder or whatever, anybody that does put anything towards it, I'm thinking of giving them a free issue. Like, yeah, so yeah, as I was saying, a free issue because we're also doing it in black and white. So one thing I want to do is I want to go back and I want to do color editions.
Yeah,
And that's another thing that anybody who does support the book, I want to give them a free color edition as well. That's kind of the idea that I'm trying to go for, type of thing. Because I do think creating incentives for people to like support the book and for them to
yeah,
get something free. Like another thing that would be cool in the future that a plan I have is that when we start doing Neon Wave action figures, people who invested are going to get like a free action figure, or they're
yeah,
going to get like an exclusive panel where they get to talk to me about the story and all of those things. Like they get exclusive interviews or exclusive live streams, things
yeah,
of that nature. So those are all the plans that I have set up, most definitely when it comes to the universe that I'm trying to build. And then also another thing I want to do is I want to start commissioning writers of different like female writers or gay writers or by LGBTQ writers or whatever the case is, to get them to create heroes as well, type
yeah,
of thing. But I definitely am trying to create a very inclusive experience because I think that's what it would take.
yeah,
But I just think that the people who do have the power here, because there are people who have an insurmountable amount of power. Like one thing I hate about politics in particular, like let's say for example, I know this might get me a little bit in trouble. Sorry, but like EFF for example, right? They can make these huge rallies where there's hundreds of thousands of people, and I'm just like, now, if we all took a rand from those hundreds and thousands of people and invested in something, we
yeah,
could build something.
yeah,
So, like taking 1 rand from everybody there, letting them invest in a we funder, and then creating some sort of industry that creates some kind of employment.
yeah,
That's an actionable solution that we can try.
yeah,
Even if it doesn't work, it's at least worth the attempt. And I just think people aren't interested in making the attempt. And that's where I think the mind shift has to come, is that let's try.
yeah,
Like, it's okay for things to fail, but it's like if we don't give it a shot, what's the point?
But it comes back to what you were saying about South Africans only support things once it's been recognized internationally. You know, they only we tend to only jump on the bandwagon. Well, look, it's true to be said. It's good to be um, internationally versed, but even to just to be completely honest, if you were to ask me what's going on locally in this or that, like because I've got an invested interest in the animation field or even the comic book field, yes, I can answer you. But if you're asking me what new drama is out, what filmmakers doing a live action, who's the producer doing stuff now, I probably can't answer a lot of those questions, you know. Um, and I think it all comes down to our inherent sort of incentivized nature. Like, what do I get out of it at the end of the day, type of thing. And you are right. It's even this question of even if I had 1 million followers on Instagram, and I told them I'm starting a GoFundMe now. Mind you, I have 1 million followers, so I know 1 million people, 1 million potential views. And I were to say, I need funding to start this. I just need 1 rand from each person. You know, I probably make 2 grand out of my 1 million followers. Look, that maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe I'm going too high, or I'm going too low, but that's the nature of these things. You know, people don't always feel that their contribution, if it's small, is worth enough and it makes a difference. Um, but that's how I feel about my contribution to the industry, even though it's a small contribution I'm making over time. Um, I think in 10 years time maybe it's valuable.
So like yeah, as you were saying, also with small contributions, everything starts small. You know, kids learn how to run. I mean, kids learn how to walk
Yeah,
before they can run, and before they walk, they crawl.
yeah,
So I think if let's just start. That's all I'm saying. Is any South African who's watching this, let's just start. And I think we start by supporting anybody that's South African, putting some stuff out there, letting them know that they do have an industry in South Africa as well. Not that they just have an industry out there,
yeah.
and that we put like again like we push stuff like Kwezi because I really think Kwezi has the potential to be like on the level of Superman and Batman and all of that stuff. So I want to see that stuff
Definitely.
happen.
The one
So
USP I want to add to that about our industry and our South African perspective and our African perspective is that we bring a unique perspective to stories. We've
yeah,
got we've got a unique take on stories. So if you want those stories or right, if you want those stories to be out there, it's just your perspective, your take. If you look at someone like Grant Morrison or Alan Moore, they come from different sort of settings, so they got very unique takes on what could be stereotypical stories. We're so in by European or Western or the American storytelling styles. It's time to start cultivating our own. And like you said, we need to start small. And if
yeah.
everyone chips in,
I'm just
you
saying.
know,
I'm
yeah,
just saying because I mean, hey, we all love anime, and that's as far away from American as you can get.
right,
So we can do this. That's all I'm saying is that we can do this. And anybody that's listening, if like even if you just subscribe to the channel, even if you just follow on Instagram, even if you just talk to your friends about, hey, did you check this out? This looks like it's really cool. Stuff like that, even before we even talk money. I just think building a culture, which we
yeah,
have, but like cultivating that culture around comic books to the point where we can have Quasi as a reference or
right,
something like that. We can do this. Like I'm just saying, we're doing it for Comic Con. We did it for Black Panther.
yeah,
Black Panther was huge here. So if we can do it for that, let's also shift some of that focus to some of our stuff as well.
yeah.
Is that's all I want to say. Oh, okay, that was a mouthful.
I think it's fantastic. I think it needs to be talked about. Thanks, man. Thanks for bringing that up. I think it's quite an important topic and
And yeah, I
viewpoint.
definitely think more conversation must happen around it
Yeah,
because Like for example, celebrating Mauricio Mkize for Batwing, I love it because what he did
Yeah,
with Batwing, fantastic. But we need to celebrate him equally, if not even more, for what you
for
guys are doing with Kwezi.
Swayze. Yeah, and and I think that motivates to put new content out. I think we've been a little bit laxity. We've been very focused on Kwezi that we haven't really made time for new content. I know I have some ideas for new content. Loiso has some ideas for new content, but you see, I'm so afraid of becoming not a cliche, becoming uh, uh, the word isn't sell out because I don't give a shit about selling out. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
it's about pandering. That's the idea. You see,
yeah.
Afrik anime or Afri manga is becoming quite popular now, and it is something I've been toying with in my head, but I kind of just can't get myself to do it because I feel like I'm pandering because it's kind of trendy right now. You know?
Well, I mean, I would just say if it's authentic what you're doing, then it doesn't matter. I think
Yeah,
some people pandering, you can smell it. I
yeah,
think pandering people can smell it. Because
yeah,
for me, I want to work on a African Dragon Ball Z style anime type thing.
yeah.
So outside of Neon Wave, I'm trying to gestate that idea, and I want to kind of reference it to like African mythology. So like one hero that I want to do, his name is Ditaulani, which a
Mhm.
lot of people don't know about him, but it's an African mythology where he like saves a village by like defeating this dragon monster and cutting out the stomach and everything because the dragon monster is always eating their animals and stuff. And eventually, like the village turns on him because they're afraid of him. So he ends up leaving the village as he found it. Type of it's an interesting folklore mythology thing. So I'm trying to play
But
with
check
that.
how cool that is. How it's a different take, and just because it's set in Africa or in our, in our setting, um, it makes for a really dope story in itself by something like that. Like, think about like fantasy worlds, but with a more African aesthetic. Like you think God of War, it's set in like a North mythological world. So imagine an
Mm.
African mythological world where things like, like I can't remember what the thing is called. It's got so much clicks in its name, but it's a sand, like the Khoisan people. It's like a sand demon type of thing. He walks on his hands and he has eyes on the bottom of his feet, like that thing in Pan's
Yeah,
Labyrinth, And there's the Naga. Oh, I'm saying it well. And there's like river snakes, like these giant snakes and air snakes, and um,
and
you
hey, we got Tokoloshis, guys. Like Tokoloshi is
exactly,
an interesting thing.
exactly. So we've got a lot of mythological creatures and stuff that could fill up a whole universe that exists in that kind of world. Anyway, off topic.
Yeah, yeah.
Next
We,
topic.
we end up going into another hour. But like the point is, at the end of the day, anybody who's listening to this, anybody who's they're South African, just support your local artists, whatever they're doing, and support them locally. Let them know they have an industry here, and once we build that industry, we can tell any Witcher story any way we want, and you
Yeah,
can get the stories that you want the way you want them. But like tearing down the industry that we have now, the fledgling industry that we have now, criticizing and saying, "Oh, this just looks American," not helpful.
yeah.
But anyway, moving on. Let's get to our artist spot. Speaking of supporting local South Africans, let's get to our artist spot. So, as is tradition, I'll go first. I want to put on the spot today Ray Witcher because I like a lot of Ray Witcher stuff. I like his style a lot. He signed my book as well. He's a cool dude. I got to interview him. He's got a great, amazing style as well. He does a lot of print stuff as well. And check out Spook.
I've got him up there. That Spider-Man pictures is from Rai.
Oh, hey, cool. Yeah. No, Ray Witch is a really cool guy. And he was kind enough to give me some tips and to give me some of his time and everything. And I know people are looking at this book and they like, they're like, well, why as a white man can he I was like, I mean, he has good intentions in my opinion, and his track record speaks for himself. Because that's one thing I do is I follow people's track record. I don't follow their actions in the moment because I feel like that's unfair.
Yeah.
So you can have a bad action, but you can have a good track record. And if you have a good track record, then I can give you a better chance. But I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing
And
anyway.
also
I think,
know that Ray's stuff is well researched. He literally wrote a comic book for his thesis, so
yeah.
and he's teaching, and so he's not just willy nilly. His things are coming from an investigated perspective.
Sorry about the wobble there.
No,
I
no
kicked my
stress,
stand.
no stress.
But yeah, that's my artist spot for today. Yeah, Ray Witcher. Please go check him out.
Toss a coin to your witcher. Oh, bad dog. um,
That was hilarious.
so my artist spot is a homie by the name of Cobus Nibenaar. So that's
Okay. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Cobusnibenaar.
whoa, 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 whoa. Africans. Wait. Let's again.
Cobus,
Yeah.
Cobus, Cobus,
Cobus.
yeah, and then Nibenaar,
Nibener.
Nibenaber.
Aber.
There we go. Cobus
Okay.
Nibenaar.
Go.
If you want to see an artist who can work perfectly with the smallest and most fine detail, check out this homie stuff. Amazing artist. Spends a lot of time on his art. You can see there's a real passion and instinct. Like this dude literally would stipple. I don't know if you know what stippling is. It's doing
Yeah.
dots. He would stipple a whole like A2 page and form art out of it. His stuff is crazy, very neat. Most of his stuff is hand drawn, but they look like they digitally rendered because of how accurately his geometry and things are. Um, I worked with him for a while. He also does statues and carvings and things like that. And his stuff is he'll take a piece of wood, right? And he'll
Yeah.
carve it into something. And he'll polish it so much by hand you think he'd varnish it. But it's actually just polishing it until it like shines like it's varnished. He's crazy. His stuff is really good. Please check him out.
Is he
I
on
know
Instagram?
yes, he is. He is. Use the same name, Cobus Nibenaar, one word. Search for him on Instagram. He doesn't have a very big following, neither do I, but please check him out. Give him a like, give him a follow. His stuff is amazing. He's also into comic
One
books.
thing I'm planning to do is that if I ever get a big following, that's what I'm just going to do is just put people on blast like that and say, go follow this person.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay.
There we
So
go.
I want to
Thank
say
you,
thank you.
sir. That was fantastic.
Thank you
Having
to
my
everybody
second
who
cup
was
of
listening.
coffee.
Thank you to Clyde again for his time and everything. Is this episode 5? Gee,
Are we on five?
we're
Are
coming
we
up.
on five already? Jeez.
Yeah, we're on 5. We're coming up on 10 soon.
Sweet.
Thank you all for listening. Please hit that subscribe and that bell button if you guys enjoyed this and everything, especially if you're at this point in the video because we've been talking for a while now.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see you all on the next episode of Geek Mense Shoot the Shit. Now, for now, I just want to say, Meisterville, peace. Thank you for watching.
Thank you,
Peace.
everybody. Peace out.